Have you ever thought to yourself, I want to eat some focaccia. I want to eat something sweet. If only there was such a thing as sweet focaccia. Okay, I know that actually probably none of you have had that very specific thought, but it turns out that sweet focaccia does exist.
Harper, not just one, various kind of sweet focaccia. And I tried them all, and they're all good, all amazing.
Focaccia is already a really versatile and I think underrated food. I mean, yes, you do see it around, but I don't know why people don't make it more often. It can serve like bread, but it can also be more like pizza. And as it apparently turns out, it can also be for dessert. That's why today, Ava has picked 3 sweet focacce. Focacce. I knew that that was the plural of focaccia. Because I've been studying with today's video sponsor, which I would love to tell you a little bit about before we get started. You can read all the textbooks you like, but the key to learning a new language is to actually practice it. When I'm away from Italy, I really try to keep learning and practicing. The best method, by far, that I've found is Rosetta Stone. A lot of language learning systems, and believe me, I've tried a ton of them, just give you a bunch of vocabulary and phrases to memorize. But then what happens when you're put on the spot and you have to think of something unexpected to say? Rosetta Stone trains you to think and speak on the spot. It constantly gives you new situations where you maybe don't know the answer, but you've learned how to figure out the right answer on your own. It's also fantastic for practicing your pronunciation. Rosetta Stone will actually listen to you speak and give you feedback. Lei ha comprato dei vestiti. One of my favorite features I've been using a lot recently is Rosetta Stone's Audio Companion. These are audio conversations between native speakers that you can listen to anywhere, anytime. If learning a new language is on your bucket list, then you need to check out Rosetta Stone's dual option deal by clicking on the link down in the description below. You can select a single language lifetime subscription for over 50% off, or get more with access to all 25 languages for over 60% off. Thanks for checking them out, and a big thank you to Rosetta Stone for sponsoring today's video.
The dough for our first focaccia is pretty much a normal, simple focaccia dough that uses flour, water, olive oil, salt and yeast. But because it's a sweet focaccia, we need other 2 more ingredients, which means some milk and some sugar. When you have an even and soft dough like that, we can call it done for now. Place back in the bowl where we pour a little bit of olive oil. We pour some extra olive oil on top. We cover it and let it rise for about 2 hours room temperature. Keep in mind that this needs to double in size. So, according with the temperature that there is in your home, here is pretty hot, so I think that for me will be a little bit shorter, but we will see.
I love how this poofs up.
You see, because it means that it's really rising. This is how it should be. I'm spreading some olive oil all over my baking tray because I don't want my focaccia attached to the pan. So be sure to spread it evenly all around. And now we place our focaccia in the pan. And we need to spread it. It's very important that you work from the center to the edges of your dough. And if it happens, as you can see, that it's shrinking? Don't worry. Wait a few minutes and now you can keep working. And now we need to cover it and let it rise for about another hour. With a normal focaccia genovese, this is the moment in which we need to make the salamoia. Now the salamoia is made with water, olive oil and salt. But because this focaccia is sweet, we are going to make the salamoia with water, olive oil and sugar. And now we spread the salamoia all over our focaccia. And like focaccia genovese, what we need to do is to make the holes.
That looks like focaccia.
This is a focaccia, but instead of salt it has a sugar. What is a focaccia? Now we need to let it like that for about 10-15 minutes, so at the top it will be a little bit, I don't know, how do you say? We say crusticina. There is a
Yeah,
little
like
crust.
when you kind of dry it out a little
Sì,
bit.
a little bit. And then we are going to bake it at 430 degrees Fahrenheit for about 18-20 minutes.
The darker crust kind of gives it away, but otherwise, I mean, I would just think I was sitting here about to eat some focaccia genovese.
This is very close to the focaccia genovese, and it comes from a city that is close to Genoa, which is Alessandria. That is a city in Piedmont. Now, what they did in Alessandria, they took the recipe of the genovese and put some sugar in.
That's essentially all it is. It's really just
Sì.
focaccia genovese plus a little bit of sugar, a little bit of milk, I guess.
And if it was good, the focaccia genovese dipped in the cappuccino, can you imagine how good is this dipped in the cappuccino? And you see all the oil with the salamoia. That is the best part of every focaccia. Buon
Buon
appetito!
appetito. It almost has the same effect as dipping this in a cappuccino without even needing the cappuccino, because you have the saltiness, the sweet. It's not too sweet, and it's kind of, well, it's like a normal focaccia in the sense that it's really those little holes that collect the oil and normally the salt where all the flavor is. It's almost like speckled flavor. It's not overwhelmingly sweet. You don't feel like
No.
you're eating dessert,
No, but
but also olive oil and sugar.
they work so very well together. If you want to give a sweet snack to your children, do this instead of going by Twinkies and I don't know what. This is so much better.
What do you mean children? This is for me.
I know.
It's finger licking good. This is kind of in between sweet and savory. What if you want like a real dessert focaccia?
It means that we need to go back to Genoa. I know that from all of these ingredients, this seems a very complicated focaccia, but actually it's not very complicated. It's just a little bit richer. And the good thing about this is that the dough doesn't need to rise, so it's very quick.
I'm getting some wonderful apple strudel flashbacks.
To make my focaccia dough, I need eggs and sugar. And what I'm going to do is beating the eggs with the sugar until they are white and fluffy. When the eggs reach this consistency, what we need to add is olive oil and a pinch of salt. Now, in Genoa they use a special cheese that you can find just in Genoa. Even in the other part of Italy, you can't find it. But a good substitute for this cheese is Greek yogurt. Or even better, if you can find, is skyr.
Icelandic yogurt.
See, is the North Greek yogurt.
What makes this better than Greek yogurt?
Because this is a little bit more acidic, because the cheese that Genoa uses for this focaccia is a little bit acidic. And last two ingredients are baking soda, baking powder.
Baking powder or baking soda? Big difference.
Baking powder.
Baking powder, okay.
Baking powder. Baking powder and flour. 00 flour. When you have a dough that is liquid like that, it's very useful to use some parchment paper. And because the parchment paper sometimes can be tricky to place on a baking tray, what I do before usually is wet it a little bit and it stays very, very well. Now we bake it at 350-55 degrees Fahrenheit for about 35-40 minutes.
I'm very excited for this because it reminds me of the apple cake that's in our cookbook, by the way, that is made with mostly apples. Like same with this, there was like very little actual flour that you put in there. So apples make up actually a huge percentage of the dough. It's one of my favorite cakes, it's amazing, but I didn't expect it in a focaccia.
See, here let's say that the word focaccia is a little bit stretchy.
Stretched
because it's something in between a cake and a focaccia. But respecting Genoa, where they call this Focaccia Dolce alle Mele, it's a Focaccia Dolce alle Mele. You know that.
That sounded like a hungry.
No, apple is my favorite fruit.
Well, your name is essentially Eve.
So everything that is made with apple, I mean 100%. Already the consistency.
Well, yeah, when you make a dough that's apple like that, you never have the problem that a lot of cakes have where they're too dry. You know, it's just always perfect.
Buon appetito.
Ah, yeah.
If you want to give a sweet snack to your children,
what is with you and children? What is with you and children?
No, it's like...
The children won't get any of this because mom and dad are gonna eat it before they even have a chance.
Know, but if they are good parents, they share this with the children instead of giving Twinkies.
I can see why they call it focaccia.
It doesn't taste like an apple cake.
Even though the batter resembles a cake batter, in the end it's so thin, the consistency is not like a normal cake anyway.
And then there is, by the way, the olive oil. We use the skyr that is acidic. So I don't want to say that it's savory because it isn't savory.
Yeah, it's not savory, but it has the powerful taste of olive oil and yogurt and...
I'm in heaven.
All right, big fan of fruit focaccia. Never really imagined that before.
Which means, Harper, that you will be a huge fan of the next one. For this focaccia, I need to make some infused rosemary olive oil. And because it involves rosemary, do you have any guess, Harper, where this focaccia is from?
I'm gonna guess Tuscany.
Bravo, Harper! What I need to do right now is just to heat a little bit the oil and let it simmer with the rosemary for about 2 or 3 minutes. And then let it completely cool down with inside also always the rosemary. Out of all the focaccia that we made today, this is the simplest one because in front of me I have a very few ingredients. Bread flour, yeast, water, the rosemary olive oil, and I'm going to add an ingredient that back in the past and maybe also today is not used in this recipe. And the ingredient is a little bit of salt. Because you should know the Tuscan people, they don't use any salt in their bread. And that's why their bread is terrible. So go to Tuscany, enjoy all the food you want, but don't eat the bread. Leave the bread there. Like the first one, we cover it with plastic paper and let it rise at room temperature for at least 2 hours or until it doubles in size. After the dough is risen, we need to cut it in half using a rolling pin. We need to spread it.
I'm assuming that you're gonna roll the other piece out and put it on top.
Bravo, Harper.
Does that mean this is gonna be kind of like a stuffed focaccia sandwich?
Sì.
But what's gonna go inside?
What is Tuscany famous for?
Steak.
Yes, but also...
The sun.
Yes, but also for...
Bean soup.
Sì, but...
Herbs.
Yes, but also...
Funny looking pine trees.
Sì, Harper, but is famous most for... It's famous for the wine, Harper. So, because Tuscany is famous for the wine, guess what? We are going to stuff our focaccia, or how they call it, schiacciata, with grapes. Now, I'm going to use this grape that I found here in a normal store. What they use actually in Tuscany is the grape cannaiolo or uva fragola. That is a very, very sweet grape. In a place like Italy, where they are famous for the wine, for the grapes, they can use whatever they want. Or you use this like I'm going to do, or another very good substitute can be, for example, blueberries.
Maybe you should explain to your Italian friends that blueberries are actually good here.
Ah, sì, keep in mind, my Italian friends, that here the blueberries are like a piece of sugar. Better if they are main blueberries, because they are the best in the world. I can testify. We need some sugar, because at the end this is a sweet focaccia. So, what we need to do is sprinkle the sugar on top of the grapes. And a little bit of sugar on top, so we can have a very beautiful caramelized schiacciata. And we bake it at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 40-45 minutes.
Tuscan grape focaccia. It sounds so trendy.
Schiacciata all'uva, Harper.
It sounds very hip, very trendy, but I'm pretty sure you won't find this on a Panera Bread menu anytime soon.
No, I don't think so. And also, this is traditional made during the period of the vendemmia.
The what?
The harvest of the grapes.
Oh, well.
When they have so much grapes that they don't know.
I assume they would make this when they have the grapes.
It was the dessert for the period, because they have so much grapes that they didn't know what to do, because the Tuscan wine wasn't requested like today, so they invented this focaccia.
Before Chianti was famous, they made focaccia.
Oh, but it smells good.
It does smell good.
Buon appetito! It's not the right grape, but it's so good.
It's really good. Really unique texture, because it's essentially like a sandwich.
Mamma mia.
Same. But I know exactly what you mean, because if it was a smaller, more powerful, kind of punchy fruit. I totally imagine, I can already taste what that would taste like. I think you're probably onto something that using some kind of other berry or something is probably better. It's still very good though.
I need to make another one with blueberries to see if I was right or not.
I think my favorite part is how in between the layers, the humidity, the moisture of the grapes, well, it's essentially grape juice in there, soaks into the dough and keeps it kind of gooey and moist in there, but then the top with the sugar kind of crunches up and caramelizes. So you have this amazing gradient of texture in between the top and the bottom.
I'm a bread person. Bread, pizza, focaccia, and all the rest. I love every kind of fruit. I love the sweet taste, so...
That's like your perfect dessert.
It's a miracle
really
of
good balance.
balance.
Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
Huh?
You owe me a Coke.
What?
We said the same word at the same time, and I said Jinx means that you owe me a Coke.
I'm so sorry, this I didn't know.
This was agreed upon at like the Hague Convention.
Okay, va bene. You take a Coke, I take this.
I won, and yet I somehow lost. Well, it turns out that sweet focaccia is surprisingly delicious. Speaking of other surprising sweet treats, this pasta grammarian made one of the most incredible desserts in our opinion, baba from Naples. We made a whole video about it. You can check it out up here. It's one of those desserts that looks like nothing at all, but tastes like everything. It is amazing.
You did a very good job because it's not an easy dessert to make. So really, my compliments because they look amazing.
If you want to become a pasta grammarian, just subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Pasta Grammar. And if you try any of these sweet focaccia recipes, which will all be down in the video description below, then please tag us in a picture. We would love to see them. All right, guys, we'll see you next time.
Ciao.